Okay, I've had pork belly on the brain of late. I've got some pork belly burnt ends going outside right now for another video, and I've got 2 more 3-pound slabs of pork belly that I'm going to do some bacon. And this is going to be a little bit different than the bacon than we've done in the past on a video. The cure is going to be a little different. So to start out with, I have 2 cups of brown sugar in a mixing bowl ready to go. And I'm gonna add a few more ingredients to that. One, I've got some pure maple syrup. That is a 1/2 cup of pure maple syrup, not the fake maple syrup. I've got a 1/4 cup of applesauce that I'm gonna add. I've got 3 tablespoons of coarse ground black pepper, and it is the coarse ground. And I have 1/3 cup of kosher salt. And I'm using, use your favorite seasoning. Today I'm going to use the Kent Rollins original seasoning. And I've got a tablespoon of that. And then last but not least, I've got some curing salt. Pink curing salt, also known as Prague powder number 1. A lot of people don't like to use this. You certainly don't have to if you're going to eat your bacon right away or freeze it even after we smoke it. But I like the pink hue that this gives bacon, and I've certainly eaten enough bacon that's had this in it in my life. I'm not going to stop now. So I'm going to add exactly what the instructions said. I measured this out. It is essentially a teaspoon per pound. So I have just a little bit more than a teaspoon that I added. And we're just going to mix this, and this is going to be a gloppy mess. The other thing I have is I've got some warm water that after I mix this for a moment and try not to sling it everywhere, I'm going to add a little warm water just to loosen it up a little bit. And then continue to mix. Really well there. That's pretty good. I am going to add just a little more water, and that should be plenty. There we go. That is going to be our cure and flavor mixture for our pork belly for our bacon. So I will bring you back. We're going to get this in the bag and get the curing process started. Okay, so we have our pork belly. It's actually 2 3-pound pork bellies, one slightly over and one slightly under, so 6 total pounds of pork belly, which is, by the way, how I measured out my Prague powder number 1, the pink curing salt. Worth mentioning that that is not the same thing as that Himalayan pink salt that's sort of out there right now. It is not the same thing, so don't think you can use that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump about half of this liquid in the bag. And then I'm going to spread it around as best I can. This does not have to be perfect, because over the course of the 5 to 7 days that this is going to be in the refrigerator curing, we will be turning this bag over every single day. And as this cure works on the pork belly, it will draw out moisture from the pork, create even more liquid in the bag. And I am making a mess, not my intention. Here we go. I'll clean up the bag in a moment. But more moisture will be created, and it will completely envelop this pork belly. So that's going to be good. We're going to call that. We're going to get this bag cleaned up and sealed up. And then we're going to get it in the refrigerator, and it's just going to sit there, and it's going to be turned every day. Going to do this for 5 to 7 days. My guess is it'll be 6 days, maybe 5, and we will get this on the smoker. So we will bring you back when we do that. Okay, so here is our bacon. It has either been 6 or 7 days. I can't remember actually. But either way is fine. Today's the day I'm going to do it. So real quick, I'm a little disappointed in the butchering of this pork belly. I was a little afraid of this, but we have a split all the way through one side of this pork belly and much of the way through on the other piece. But it is what it is. Oftentimes we cut our bacon in half anyway, just to fit it in the pan better, and we'll be forced to do that this time. It's not going to affect the taste, but I was planning on slicing this all in longer strips, but the best laid plans. So sometimes that happens with the butchering, especially with these mail order pork bellies. You're not picking them out yourself by hand and looking at how it's done. So we will make do. So my next step, and I'm going to do it off camera just because it'll be a pain to set all this up for a camera and I can describe it well enough. I'm going to remove these from the plastic bag and I'm going to rinse them off really well. You want to get any salt deposits off of them, get them all cleaned off. Some of the spices that are in there will potentially burn in the smoking process, so we want to get them all cleaned off. And then I'm going to put the two pieces on this pan with the rack on it, and it will go from there into the refrigerator in order to develop its pellicle, so the smoke adheres to it, etc. I plan to smoke this bacon later today. It's possible it'll actually be tomorrow. It sort of depends on a brisket I have going on the smoker right now, so we'll just have to see. But the other thing I'm going to do is after I rinse off the pork belly, I'm going to cut a small strip off of one of the pieces. They're both going to be the same. I'm not worried about cutting a strip off of each one, and I'm going to cook it and make sure that the salt content is good. If it is too salty, you can go through a desalination process, which essentially involves soaking it in clean, cool water for 2, 4, 6 hours, something like that, until it gets to the salt content that you want. I've actually always had it be good whenever I've done bacon, but I still don't want to take a chance because you can correct it if it's too salty. So we'll probably bring you back for that interim taste test, but in the meantime, I'm going to get this rinsed off and get it in the refrigerator for drying, minus one small strip that we'll cook up. Okay, so here's our rinsed off slabs of bacon. I wasn't able to get all of the black pepper off, but I'm not worried about that. We got it mostly rinsed off and good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these ends and cut off a slice. There we go. So we're just going to cook that up and make sure, like I said, our salt content is good. I think I'm going to square up this side too and just cook up 2 of them. And then as you can see, here's our kind of our spots where the fat got cut during the butchering process. This is actually the one that isn't quite as bad, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half because that's what I'm going to have to do to the other one. And by the way, look at that nice pink color. Hope you can see that. It's really pretty. That is the curing salt. That's one of the reasons I like to use the curing salt. You wouldn't get that pink hue necessarily without it. So here's the pork belly that was really butchered, excuse the pun. So we're just going to use that as a point where we will cut it in half. And this is plenty to taste, but I think I am going to kind of square up each of these sides just because of that big gouge. And I'll go ahead and cook those up too. And then we'll get the pieces on the drying rack. And these are then going to go into the refrigerator. Again, it will help develop the pellicle, which will hold on to the smoke when we eventually smoke these here later today. There we go. Whoops. So we'll get these on the rack, we'll get them in the fridge, and we will come back and maybe taste this bacon real quick, see how it tastes, and see if we need to worry about the salt content. Okay, so we're frying up this pork belly, soon to be called bacon. Again, just checking the saline content. So I'm just going to cook this through till it's done. It doesn't look altogether like bacon yet, just because it hasn't been smoked, and it won't taste like it either. But it should taste good, unless it's over salted, and then we'll do something about that. So we'll bring you back. All right, so we've got our pork belly, soon to be bacon, fried up. Again, just for a quick salinity test, so I'm just going to try one of these. It's outstanding. So the flavor is great. It is not anywhere close to too salty. So I'm very happy with this. This is going to now rest in the refrigerator for at least several hours, if not 5 or 6. And then we will get it into the smoker. And I would imagine it'll take 6 to 8 hours in my experience. We'll see. I'm gonna do it really low and slow, and so we'll bring you back. Okay, so we're gonna get our bacon on. It has been in the refrigerator about 5 hours, which I wouldn't mind going a little bit longer, but time is getting short, so that's gonna work for today. So here is our cured pork belly. Again, I did fry up a little bit just to make sure the salt content was good. Rinsed them off really well. Still have a little bit of things like black pepper and stuff on them, but that'll be okay. It's not going to be at such a high temperature that it will burn today, so a little bit's not going to hurt. And I'm going to leave it on this rack and put the whole rack in. That'll help me if I want to spin it around or whatever. I've got the temperature of the cooker on 200. If it was a warmer day, I'd go a little bit lower. But our goal here is to get this pork belly up to around 145 to 150. I've even gone a little bit higher to 152-ish in the past. So we'll just monitor the temperature. I do have my ThermalWorks that I'm going to set up. And we'll get that probe plugged into the thickest piece of pork belly and just monitor one, and then I'll use my temperature probe to check the others as we get closer. So there we go. It's about 33 degrees, which is about right. It just came out of the refrigerator, so we're going to let this go, and we will bring you back. I'm not going to spritz this or anything. We're just going to watch the color, maybe turn the rack if I think I need to, and otherwise I'm guessing this will take the next 5 to 7 hours or so to get up to temperature, and then we'll slice it for bacon next time. So we will bring you back. After 6 hours on the PG 500, our pork belly is now bacon. It's going to go in a bag and in the refrigerator overnight now. Okay, so our bacon has been in the refrigerator overnight. We're gonna just slice through the middle of it. I'm actually gonna use a slicer to do all of this bacon to get thinner slices. The last bacon I did, I got thicker slices. We just cut it with a knife. So you can totally cut it with a knife, especially when it's cold. You can even put it in the freezer for 15 or 20 minutes, and it makes it really easy. So there's the inside of our bacon. As you can see, it looks like cured bacon. Again, we did use a cure in this. So that's the way we're going to slice it. Just make thin slices right across there and then package it up. And then we'll probably fry up a couple of slices. Matter of fact, I'll just take a couple of slices now, again with a sharp knife in it. And if the bacon is cold, you can totally do it by hand. So here we go. Really pretty. Hope you can see that on the camera. But that should fry up nicely. So we'll make a couple of pieces just to try today. And then we're gonna food save this and probably put it in the freezer. I've got probably 1.5 pounds of the last bacon I did, and this is gonna end up being 4 pounds of bacon, so we won't be buying store-bought bacon for quite a while, which will be nice. When it's cold, a sharp knife doesn't go as quickly, but you can totally just cut it with a knife. So I'm gonna stop there. We'll get the slicer out to do the rest, and we'll bring you back in a few minutes. Okay, so the best laid plans. I could not find my slicer. So we just sliced all of this up by hand using my brisket slicing knife. The thing that makes it difficult is when you get down to the end of one of the pieces of pork belly or the whole piece of pork belly, because it's hard to hold the pork belly and slice it to the thickness you want and not cut part of your hand off. So fortunately I didn't do that. But what that meant is when it got down to the last of it, I ended up making what I would call lardons, and we'll just freeze those to use them for different things. So it'll work out fine, but everything else is sliced. And here's the pieces that are left that I fried up. So I'm gonna try another one now. I have to admit I've already tried one or two. Good flavor. That brine and all the ingredients that went into it makes it really tasty. Not at all too salty. Matter of fact, I could have added a little more salt. Smoky flavor from the smoking process. We took that up to about 150 degrees in the largest piece of pork butt. So everything would have been between 140 and about 152 when it ended by the time it had some carryover to it. So I would recommend making your own bacon. It's really not that difficult. Just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of space in your refrigerator. This is the second bacon video I've done with 2 different ways to cure. I'm not sure that I like one better than the other. They both taste great. So give this a shot, do me a favor, and like this video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Next project is to get these in food saver bags in a portion size that will be good for our family. And we'll get it in the freezer, and we'll have probably nearly 5 pounds of bacon in the freezer at that point that we can pull out and use whenever we want. So thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.